Premier and the Minister of Finance of the British Virgin Islands and the leader of the Government of National Unity. He is also the Minister responsible for sustainable development, tourism, culture, immigration, agriculture, fisheries, and external affairs. He was appointed on 5th May 2022. He previously served as Deputy Premier and Minister for Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Sports, Agriculture, and Fisheries from 2019 to 2022. He was first elected to office on the 25th of February 2019 as the representative of the 7th District on Tortola. Dr. Honorable Wheatley holds a PhD from the London School of African and Oriental Studies, Master of Arts degree in Literature from Purdue University, and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Clark Atlanta University. Prior to his political career, he served for 12 years as a lecturer at the H. Lavity Stout Community College in the Virgin Islands. He is married and has 2 children. Please help me welcome Dr. the Honorable Wheatley.
Thank you for that. It's always interesting hearing about yourself. Your Excellency Sarah Tucker, Governor of Montserrat, the Honorable Joseph Farrell, Premier of Montserrat and Chairman of the OECS Authority, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, my fellow Virgin Islander, Dame Pereira, fellow heads of government, honorable ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning to you. What a joy to be here in beautiful Montserrat. I'm indeed very humbled to have the opportunity to address this opening ceremony for the first time. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the government and people of Montserrat for their hospitality and the arrangements made thus far to ensure my attendance and participation today. Of course, I'm also very pleased that on this occasion, another associate member is serving as host country, which demonstrates the equity in OECS. That is something to clap for. Yes. Colleagues, I attend this 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority with a spirit of humility and gratitude. We are less than 6 months removed from the political crisis in the Virgin Islands earlier this year. I extend to you not only my personal thanks and the gratitude of the Government of National Unity, but the appreciation of the people of the Virgin Islands who feel warmly embraced by their OECS family. It is because of the intervention of our community, of states and territories, that the people of the Virgin Islands still have democratic representation, including a House of Assembly, a Premier, ministers of government, and a cabinet. We sincerely thank you. All essential components of democratic governance in our political system. I'm immensely proud of the way that OECS took to the international stage at forums, such as the United Nations General Assembly, to stand up for democracy and human rights. Our voices do carry weight. We have the moral high ground. When we all stand together and speak with one voice, even giants listen. I want to thank each and every member state and associate member for their support to the Virgin Islands, as well as the Director General of the OECS Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a very strange and uncertain time, and it is critical that as a bloc, we continue to deepen our cooperation to help withstand the external pressures that we face as small island developing states. Beyond the solidarity and historical and cultural links that the Virgin Islands enjoys as a part of the Eastern Caribbean, the Government of National Unity that I lead wants to deepen our functional cooperation with the OECS. There are obvious areas such as regional transportation and tourism on which we remain engaged, but we also want to explore sectoral cooperation in other key areas. For example, we are keen to strengthen trade in agricultural goods between the Virgin Islands and our partners in the Eastern Caribbean. This would help to satisfy the demand in our economy for more affordable and healthier food options. The big challenge, however, is getting more frequent shipping at reasonable rates to deliver these goods. We are ready to work with OECS on what can be done in this regard. In terms of international partnerships, the Virgin Islands wants to be involved to the fullest extent in possible OECS South-to-South cooperation arrangements with emerging economies. The Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Summit in Barbados last month highlighted many of the opportunities for trade between the continent and the Caribbean. The Virgin Islands stands ready to walk through OECS to build trade linkages with Africa in the financial services space. There's no reason why our sub-region cannot be the conduit for channeling investment into and out of Africa. We must seize this opportunity. Where it concerns traditional development partners such as the European Union, the Virgin Islands, as an associate member, needs OECS support to facilitate our participation in EU-funded programs involving the Eastern Caribbean. The problem of accessing concessional financing and grants from international donors is acute in the Virgin Islands. So OECS support is critical, obtaining development assistance to pursue sustainable development and build climate resilience through adaptation and mitigation measures. As far as governance and reform are concerned, the OECS itself is a driver of reform and change that the Virgin Islands can benefit from. Many of OECS steps to harmonize sectoral standards and arrangements to support the European Union are good for the Virgin Islands in terms of our own reform efforts. Consumer protection standards is a good example of this. Finally, colleagues, the Government of National Unity wants to encourage young people across the sub-region to do marine training in the Virgin Islands. Our thriving marine sector is an excellent environment for young people to learn the skills to work in the field. Mr. Chairman, as I close, I again want to thank the OECS for its tight embrace of the Virgin Islands. There's so much uncertainty in the world, but yet OECS is flying high the banner of democracy and human rights. We are a beacon of democracy and must continue to stand on democratic principles even when it is uncomfortable. Long live the OECS. Colleagues, you have the full support of the Virgin Islands. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wheatley. Our next item is a cultural piece from Grenada as the outgoing chair.
As Grenada hands over the chairmanship, we extend heartfelt congratulations to Honorable Easton Farrell, the Premier of Montserrat, and the new Chairman of the OECS Authority. We hope that your tenure would be a successful and rewarding one. Even though it may be challenging at times, we implore that you remain focused and know that you would make it, because where there is a will, there is a way. All solutions to problems facing the islands may not look forthcoming and may not be resolved in the time intended. But remember, nothing happens before its time. However, with hard work and determination, anything is possible. So with words of encouragement to you, Premier Farrell, and fellow heads of government, and without further ado, I present to you our cultural presentation through the words of our King, Ajamo.
One Coca-Cola basket, that is what me mama say. And where there's a will, my brother, there must be a way. Life is real, you cannot fake it. We all have a part to play. In spite of the odds, my sister, you can run away. Some people got everything, while some people got none. But never give up in spite of your situation. I know you could make it. You could make it if you try. Brother, you could make it. And I wouldn't tell you no lies, sister, you could make it. Don't care how hard it may seem. Brother, you could make it. Keep on holding on to your dream. In spite of the stumbling blocks that might stand in your way. If you put your faith in God, they're bound to fade away. I know you could make it. Keep fighting for a worthy cause. Brother, you could make it. And the victory will be yours. Lord, oh Lord, brother. We all know that life ain't easy, but you got to take your chance. Get yourself involved in something positive. Sitting there and playing lazy wouldn't tell you to advance. A good working spirit is what you need to achieve. Don't be discouraged by things that other people say. Believe in yourself and know you're bound to see a brighter day. You could make it. You could make it if you try. Brother, you could make it. And I wouldn't tell you no lies, sister, you could make it. Don't care how hard it may seem, brother, you could make it. Keep on holding on to your dream. Always keep an open mind and try to be positive. A negative aspiration you must never conceive, and know you could make it. Believe when I tell you so, brother, you could make it. I won't be talking because I know people. You could make it.
There's a popular saying, do it nice or do it twice. In the office of the Premier, we say, if it's nice, do it twice. So we've just had the outgoing chair, Grenada, doing a cultural item for us. But here again, we'll invite Grenada to do his maiden address. The Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. Let's welcome him.
Good morning. I'm just doing a wellness check to make sure that we are all well. Good morning. Thank you. Permit me to adopt the distinguished and extensive protocol list that has been read out this morning. I am elated to be in beautiful Montserrat, and let me start off by thanking Chairman Farrell and his team for doing a fantastic job in taking care of me and all of the guests here. We had the honor of visiting Plymouth yesterday afternoon. It was an awe-inspiring and sobering visit. And I want to just express my admiration for the people of Montserrat in surviving the horrific events of the volcano and continuing to strive despite that challenge. And I think it's testimony to the resilience of the Montserratian people. Colleague heads of government, it is my honor to address you this morning as we come together in beautiful Montserrat for the 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority. The aspirational vision that our predecessors held at the signing of the Treaty of Basseterre to see our small islands united as one community, growing together, still burns brightly 41 years later, and is evidenced by the commitment and presence of the leaders here this morning. As a small region, we have achieved significant milestones in various areas of post-independence economic development through decisive joint action for the betterment of our peoples. Most notably, we can identify the stability of the Eastern Caribbean dollar, or EC dollar, our common currency, which holds a fixed exchange rate against the US dollar. The creation of strong regional institutions, such as the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the East Caribbean Supreme Court, and I pause to note the presence of the Chief Justice, the East Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, and the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority. The establishment of the Eastern Caribbean Economic Union, which constitutes a single financial and economic space amongst the protocol members of the OECS, and with it, the indefinite free movement of our people throughout the protocol member states for work or for leisure without the need for work permits or other such documentation. The mutual recognition of valid driver's licenses in any protocol member state and the ability to travel on any government-issued ID. And access to contingent rights for citizens and their spouses and dependents with respect to employment, education, healthcare, social protection. When moving residents between protocol member states. Colleagues, while there is still much work to be done towards the full functionality of our shared vision of one community, these achievements prove that our goals are attainable, and with dedicated commitment, they are within reach. The past decade, though difficult for us all, saw the expansion of our union with the inclusion of our French brothers and sisters from Martinique and Guadeloupe in 2015 and 2019 respectively, allowing for deeper functional cooperation in multiple areas, such as specialized healthcare, business development, tourism, youth empowerment, and plurilingualism. I take this opportunity today to reaffirm Grenada's commitment to the regional integration movement amongst our small islands. The one constant in recent years has been an increasingly tense international atmosphere paired with a concatenation of crises. Only 12 years following the financial crisis of 2008, our countries have had to grapple with a global pandemic of unprecedented proportions, and most recently, Russia's prolonged war in Ukraine, which continues to disrupt food supply chains and the global cost of fuel. For our small island states, these crises are set against the backdrop of an even bigger climate crisis that disproportionately affects our small islands due to their inherent vulnerabilities, threatening the very existence of our nations and people with increased and more intense storms and the damaging effects of sea level rise. Inevitably, our national economies have been adversely impacted by these global events, manifested in a loss of economic activity, jobs, and reversals in economic and social development gains that were achieved over the past decades. We continue to fight on an international level for our voices to be heard as it relates to these challenges. We continue to advocate for actions that would ensure our mere survival as nations, such as the agreement to limit global emissions to 1.5 degrees and the need for a multi-vulnerability index for our countries. As one thing is clear, those who feel it knows it, and we certainly feel it. Colleagues, if ever there was a time to band together as small island nations, this is the time. These global events notwithstanding, the ills that they have brought have also left us with a clarity of purpose and an opportunity, indeed an urgency, to leverage our regional integration movement more optimally. Increasingly, the global economy asks of us, as small states, to compete equally with countries and regions many times our size. The collective population within our economic union of approximately 620,000 people, while still smaller than local tongues of some developed and developing countries, provides us with exponentially greater opportunities for economic advancement. A renewed commitment to accelerate the implementation of the Eastern Caribbean Economic Union is at this time essential and must be seen equally as part of the menu of national policy responses to our development challenges. We are yet to truly capitalize on the many far-reaching benefits of intra-OECS trade in goods and services and the development opportunities to be derived from the intra-OECS investments. Measures that will ease financial transactions, such as setting up bank accounts, purchasing land, or accessing immovable assets, are urgently needed. Colleagues, while significant inroads to this end have been made, the onus is on us as leaders to bring this attainable reality to fruition. In this regard, my new administration commits to identifying the national bureaucratic requirements that hinder the ease of movement through the economic union with a view to addressing these matters. To this end, in our first 100 days in office, we have discontinued the need for embarkation and disembarkation card, or the ED card, for passengers leaving Grenada, and concrete steps are already on the way to eliminate the lengthy ED card requirement upon arrival at the airport. I pause to note that I'm following in the footsteps of our most senior elder statesman, Dr. Rav Gonzalez, who has already eliminated the use of the ED card in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These actions, while seemingly simple, make a big difference to the ease of travel and complement other initiatives such as the introduction of smart technologies at points of entry, which will bring about greater efficiency in the processing of passengers and strengthen data sharing among our countries. In addition to increasing national and regional security, the effective implementation of these initiatives will also enhance our tourism competitiveness, given the importance of this sector to our economies. Colleagues, the success of all of the above is hinged on the maintenance of a sustainable and reliable intra-regional transport system. The high cost of travel in the region and the limited airlift opportunities continues to be the biggest hurdle that we face as it discourages the movement of people, goods, and services. My presence and the presence of many of the other heads in Montserrat today was only made possible by charter flight. This cannot continue. The creation of an environment for efficient and cost-effective intra-regional transportation is central to the measures that are needed to bring about a true single financial and economic space, as is envisioned in the revised Treaty of Basseterre. My colleague heads of governments, I believe that if we can give the commitment to addressing these key matters at this 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority, we would have sown the seeds for a much brighter future for our citizens. Before I conclude, I just want to note that today is the 19th of October. And 39 years ago, on the 19th of October, 1983, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Maurice Bishop, and senior members of his cabinet, including Unison Whiteman, Norris Bain, and Jacqueline Creff, were assassinated. October 19th, 1983, is 39 years ago. And while Grenada and the OECS has made significant progress, there are still countries in the region which have had to face the horrific fact of another head of state being assassinated. And as we all were, not so long ago, the president of Haiti was assassinated. And our colleagues, brothers and sisters in Haiti, are still reeling from the assassination of that president. And so this is a sobering reminder, and perhaps fitting that we should bring it up today, that we too in the region are not immune from political instability, and that we should not take our institutions and our democracy for granted. I wish to pledge to my colleague heads that Grenada firmly remains committed to the ideals of democracy and to further integration and union within the OECS movement. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, having traveled with Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, we know that Honorable Mitchell has the ear of SVG, and SVG has a twin otter service. But SVG's Islander comes to Montserrat. We're going to have a little break in protocol. Now, Grenada was such a remarkable outgoing chair. They've made the transition really easy for Montserrat. So rather than doing a bio, we decided to tell you a story after his maiden address. So Deacon Mitchell's story is one of success that has come from hard work, sacrifice, determination, and a deep desire for betterment. He began his service to Grenada in 1996 when he took a teaching position at his alma mater, the Presentation Brothers College. At this point, he was already aware of the transformational power of education, but this 2-year stint allowed him to appreciate the full spectrum of the educational experience in Grenada. It cemented his desire to do more by advocating for the educational advancement of all Grenadians. In 1998, Deacon enrolled at the University of the West Indies in pursuit of a law degree. After completing Hugh Wooding Law School in Trinidad, His commitment to serve Grenada brought him straight home, where he commenced his law practice at Grant, Joseph and Company, and immediately distinguished himself as a formidable lawyer, representing many individuals and business entities. 3 years later, he would acquire Grant, Joseph and Company. In 2016, Deacon opened another law firm, Mitchell and Company, a maneuver strongly influenced by his vision to create more employment for young and upcoming lawyers. His ambitions have always been tethered to his desire to give back, and as such, Deacon has never divorced himself from the community. Deacon Mitchell's collective experiences as a teacher, mentor, lawyer, and youth advocate shaped his commitment to Grenada and motivated his decision to enter the political arena. His vision, steeped in a love for country, is to transform Grenada into a prosperous and stable democracy, capable of sustaining a high quality of life for all its people. On June 23, 2022, only 8 months into his political career, he led his party to victory. He was sworn in on the 24th of June, 2022. As Prime Minister, he is now working assiduously with his cabinet of ministers to move Grenada forward, building the foundation for an equitable society that takes pride in its culture, heritage, and identity. Honorable Mitchell. So we are back to protocol, and I'll go and get one item and come back. We are back to protocol, so I'll first present the bio for the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. He will also be giving his maiden address to the authority. Here goes. Honorable Dr. Terence Michael Drew currently serves as the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the political leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and the parliamentary representative for constituency number 8. He is a caring and a committed individual who has provided years of dedicated service as a medical practitioner specialized in the field of internal medicine. A community activist and a philanthropist by nature, Dr. Drew has been actively involved across his constituency, providing dependable leadership on various community initiatives. The empowerment of youth and marginalized groups, such as the disabled and elderly, are especially his passion. He was educated at the Dean Glassford Primary School and went on to Bastyr Junior High and Bastyr Senior High Schools before graduating from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College in 1996. At 19, Dr. Drew was a part-time teacher at the Bastyr High School, where he taught physics and mathematics. In 1998, he went to Cuba to study medicine, where he graduated with first-class honors from Institute Superior de Ciencias Médicas in Santa Clara, Cuba. Dr. Drew returned to St. Kitts and worked as a general practitioner at the Joseph N. France General Hospital and also from his private office. In 2010, Dr. Drew was awarded a full scholarship to pursue specialty study in internal medicine at the Paul Foster School of Medicine in Texas. He graduated in June 2013 as a member of the American College of Medicine and American Medical Association. He is now a diplomat of the American Board of Internal Medicine. From 2005 to 2006, Dr. Drew served as a medical intern at the Joseph N. France General Hospital and completed rotations in internal medicine, general surgery, pediatrics, obstetrics, and gynecology, emergency care, and community medicine. He also worked as a house officer from 2006 to 2007, and from 2007 to 2010. Dr. Drew was employed with the Ministry of Health as a district medical officer. Dr. Drew's transition into politics is a natural extension of his commitment to service and the well-being of the people of constituency number 8. With a clear vision of advancement and enhancement, Dr. Drew will continue to seek new opportunities for the development of the people of his constituency and the Federation as a whole. A community activist and a philanthropist by nature, Dr. Drew has been actively involved across his constituency, providing dependable leadership on various community initiatives. He actively participates in the community sports arena, helping young people in football and basketball keep active and healthy. The empowerment of youth and marginalized groups, such as the disabled and elderly, are especially his passion. Over the years, Dr. Drew has worked diligently to build a personal relationship with the people in his community and to help wherever possible. He has taken the time to listen to their needs and concerns, which led him to establish the CARE Foundation in February 2021, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that aims to aid citizens nationally across both islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. The motto of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, "For the good that we can do," is at the core of his political aspirations. Let us welcome Honorable Dr. Terence Drew.
Let me take this opportunity to say that that was a long bio. I think we need to work on that one. But I want to really thank the people of Montserrat for having me here. But before I get into that, let me, of course, recognize the protocol that was so ably established. And I say ably because I think she did an excellent job. Put your hands together for our chairperson this morning. I want to recognize the Premier of Montserrat, and I also want to recognize my fellow colleagues who are here on the stage with me. But it would be remiss of me, as I started before, not to recognize Dr. Didacus, who is the head of the authority at this moment, and I can attest to his dedication. Many times we receive messages from him all hours of the day. Tells me that he works more than he sleeps. Thank you very much. I am grateful for you for affording me the opportunity to stand here before you today in my capacity as head of government of St. Kitts and Nevis after the historic victory of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party at the polls on August 5th, 2020. 22. Our party is the oldest active political party in the English-speaking Caribbean. We have completed 90 years this year. I am equally grateful to you and to the government and people of Montserrat for the warm hospitality extended to me and the members of my delegation. I had the opportunity with my colleague, PM Deacon, to visit the volcano site yesterday. And as I looked at it, it reminded me and inspired in me a number of critical principles, one of which is the principle of resilience. It tells me that the people of Montserrat, despite the challenges that they face with that volcanic activity, as I saw the green shrubs trying to push their way from among the ash that covered them many years ago, I can see the spirit of demonstration penetrating and coming back to life and saying to us, we are here and we will excel. Thank you for that lesson. Mr. Chairman, it is indeed an honor to address this august body of leaders and the people of the OECS and this great island. We all share a strong commitment to regional integration, be it on the economic, social, or environmental developmental fronts. Our regional integration is not only robust, but deep in substance and wide in scope, touching all the pillars of sustainable development. It is firmly rooted in the revised Treaty of Bastille, my hometown, the revised Treaty of Chagaramas, and the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development at the level of the United Nations. My address today should not be considered against the backdrop of the myriad of challenges which confront leaders of our regions. Paramount among these are the economic fallout caused by COVID-19 pandemic, disruptions in global supply chains, leading to significant increases in the price of basic commodities, the clear and ever-present danger posed by climate change, and closer to home, the crisis currently experienced by our brothers and sisters in Haiti. Mr. Chairman, it is imperative that we reflect on and consider practical solutions to the challenges that confront us. These challenges not only obscure our clear vision, but threaten to steer us from the path of achieving our targets enshrined in the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. We must never lose sight of our ethos, working to make a difference in the lives of the people whom we have the privilege to lead. Allow me to take you back to June 18, 1981, at the signing ceremony of the original Treaty of Bastille. This modest, yet significant event took place on the front steps of Government Headquarters Bastille, the capital city of St. Kitts and Nevis, where 7 representatives of governments of the OECS Council affirmed their commitment to the birth of a new regional organization, the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States. The mandate of the OECS was, among other things, 1, to promote cooperation among its members. 2, to promote unity and solidarity among its member states and defend their sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. 3, to seek to achieve the fullest possible harmonization of foreign policy among the member states, to seek to adopt as far as possible common positions on international issues, and to establish and maintain wherever possible arrangements for joint overseas representation and/or common services. 4, to promote economic integration among the member states through the provisions of the agreement establishing the Eastern Caribbean Common Market. 20 years later, the OECS evolved into an economic union, thereby deepening the level of integration, incorporating the free movement of all nationals of the member states who signed the protocol. This improved iteration of the OECS is embodied in the revised Treaty of Bastille. Mr. Chairman, my invitation to us to take a walk down memory lane was not intended to evoke feelings of nostalgia or to pat ourselves on our backs for the strides we have taken along this fearless path of regional integration. I would rather invite us to explore the possibilities of expanding the scope of our movement. I am encouraged by the body of work that has been taken by the OECS Commission and the individual member states to take the process forward by implementing the provisions of the revised Treaty of Bastille. Decisions to be taken at the very meeting of the authority on the portability of social security benefits, contingent rights policy implementation, capacity building for officials, and the finalization of an OECS unique identification card are steps in the right direction. We should leave this meeting with a deeper level of commitment to our cause. Mr. Chairman, one of the hallmark features of the OECS has been the establishment of joint overseas representation and/or common services. Today, we have joint embassies in Brussels, Belgium, Rabat, Morocco, and a technical mission to the World Trade Organization, WTO, in Geneva, Switzerland. And I take this moment to salute our robotics team, who is presently in Switzerland and doing very well among the teams of the world. I am convinced that we should build on this foundation and spread our diplomatic footprint on the African continent and further afield. We may wish to engage the African Union as they consider us the sixth region of Africa by, of course, considering observer status, giving us a seat at the table where matters related to trade, investment, and cultural cooperation are discussed. We may also wish to deepen our level of engagement by establishing a presence in major cities like Abuja, in Nigeria, Accra, in Ghana, and Cape Town, South Africa. The possibilities are endless. We have started the discussions with the Afrexim Bank, which was alluded to earlier by one of my colleagues, and I urge us to take the subject of joint representation to a higher level and make the necessary decisions to enable us to reap the rewards to be derived from this increased level of engagement. It is difficult for us to achieve our development objectives if we ignore the challenges posed by the proverbial elephant in the room, glaring gaps in our interregional transportation sector, as was referred to my colleague Deacon. An efficient and sustainable transportation system will yield benefits for investment, trade, and movement of people, two pillars of our regional integration movement. An important part of the discussion should also include a strategy for enhancing the viability and sustainability of our citizenship by investment programs. Many of our countries are dependent on the revenues generated by this program, but we must not be short-sighted or sell our countries short. We must be cognizant of the risks associated with devaluing our program and develop a united approach which will ensure the viability and continued success of the program for all of our member states who are involved and all of our citizens who benefit and will continue to benefit. My final statement relates to the need for us to take action to strengthen our regional institutions. These include but are not limited to. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, whose headquarters is in my dear country, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, and the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority. Our actions at the individual member level must implement decisions taken by the respective councils and the authority. Failure to implement decisions serve to undermine the strong foundation of the OECS. We should also commit to providing the resources necessary for implementing these decisions. I wish, therefore, in this spirit, to reaffirm the commitment of my dear Federation St. Kitts and Nevis to strengthen our OECS economic union. Rest assured that I will do all in my power, along with my cabinet colleagues, to oversee the implementation of the decisions emanating from this meeting of the authority. Mr. Chairman, I thank you once more for affording me the opportunity. But before I go, I want to, of course, extend my sincerest sentiments with respect to what took place in Grenada in 1983, and to say to the people of Grenada that we in St. Kitts and Nevis, we continue to hurt with you, but we also continue to be hopeful because we are all a resilient people. And PM Deacon, please take my words to your people to let them know that we care and you have our support. I also want to say, to that end, that to the people of Haiti, I listened to that song last night, Haiti, I'm Sorry. That was sung so many years ago. And after so many years, we are back to the same place, and possibly even worse. That while we say we were sorry, a lot more could have been done. And in this vein, I encourage us to do what we can for our brothers and sisters in Haiti, the first freed slave nation in the Western Hemisphere, setting the spirit of independence for all of our peoples who came here in chattel slavery. We must never forget their sacrifice and commitment to that spirit, and therefore encourage us to do all we can to let our brothers and sisters in Haiti know that we are not only sorry, but really we want to do what our capacity allows us to do and extend a tangible hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Drew. Before we move into the next feature, which is an OECS feature, the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Premier, Mrs. Daphne Castle, she has asked me to give a special shout out to all the students and pupils, teachers hanging with us today. I'm sure they're very happy not to be in class, but we welcome you as the future generation of Montserrat. And we have one lesson for you today. Tell me a word that means small but great. Montserrat. We'll have the OECS feature now.
As the guardian of the revised Treaty of Basseterre, the OECS Commission is actively leading the execution of several programs and initiatives to advance, support and accelerate regional trade, economic and social integration based on the new strategic priorities that speak to accelerating regional integration, reinventing the economy, valuing the environment, building resilience, and advancing equity and inclusion. The Economic Affairs and Regional Integration Division is the driver of critical elements enshrined in the revised Treaty of Basseterre. Under the OECS EU RIGHT program, the division released its inaugural OECS Integrates magazine and fact cards on social media to help stakeholders understand the work being done to advance the region. The campaign reached over 840,000 people in the OECS member states. The Blue Biotrade project in the OECS aimed to structure and grow the Queen Conch or Lambie industry. The project, with UNCTAD and CITES, delivered 3 value chain studies, one for Grenada, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Based on the findings of the studies, stakeholders gathered for a regional workshop to agree on an action plan for the way forward. The success of this OECS EU project was featured at the United Nations Oceans Conference in June. OECS member states can now monitor, compare and collaborate on their development goals in real time with the innovative OECS Development Strategy Scorecard. With the support of the ACP TradeCom 2, 2 analytical tools were released to the region. The Trade Map tool aims to improve performance and Market Access Map enhances market transparency. Over 64 professionals were trained in CARICOM law, trade negotiations, competition law, cooperation and leadership, and the Caribbean Court of Justice, while the UWI OECS Masters in Trade Policy program recorded 31 graduates. Training continues for professionals in border security and management, customs and excise, taxation and consumer protection law. The OECS Geneva Mission and the Trade Policy Unit coordinated the OECS participation at the World Trade Organization's 12th Ministerial Conference. OECS representatives focused their messages on taking action to preserve the integrity of the multilateral trading system and delivering concrete outcomes on issues affecting its citizens, such as food security and the COVID-19 pandemic. The 7th Council of Ministers Tourism met to discuss and decide on issues relating to intra-regional travel and transportation, the Tourism Enhancement Program, OECS Tourism Marketing, Climate Action in Tourism, and Hospitality Training. The business development of the OECS region is being supported with incubator and accelerator programs and support to the OECS Business Council. The OECS Environmental Sustainability Division is focused on achieving the objectives under these strategic priorities: reinvent the economy, value the environment, and build resilience. Through the recently concluded Caribbean Regional Oceanscape Project, CROP, 5 national coastal and marine spatial plans were developed and a regional marine spatial planning framework. Other tools developed through this project include a Blue Economy Strategic Action Plan, a Strategic Action Plan for GIS Technology, 5 National Ocean Policies and Strategic Action Plans, and a Blue Economy Knowledge Hub. The Biodiversity Support Program for ACP Coastal Environments, or Biospace, is an ongoing project to build resilience and capacity and to contribute to sustainable livelihoods through the provision of training, equipment, tools, and techniques. The project will benefit 9 OECS member states. The Integrated Landscape Approaches and Investments in Sustainable Land Management in the OECS, or ILM project, is conducting several interventions aimed at reversing land degradation, agriculture planning and development, integrated watershed management, and enhancing ecotourism livelihoods. The Building Resilience in the Eastern Caribbean through Reduction in Marine Litter project, or REMLIT, has harmonized policy and legislation for effective management of waste, developed a fiscal policy and incentives program to reduce plastics and styrofoam use, and encourage recycling and reuse. A successful regional public awareness campaign has sought to reduce plastic pollution in the marine, coastal, and terrestrial environments. Advancing climate action in the Eastern Caribbean through the NDC Finance Initiative and subsidiary activities. This ongoing initiative, dubbed the Solar Challenge, aims to increase deployment of renewable energy technologies in support of increased energy and climate resilience. Progress thus far has been facilitated by multiple partners, including GGI, the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the Republic of Taiwan, and Power 52. The Enhancing Climate Resilience in CARIFORUM Countries project seeks to build climate resilience in the water sector. 3 major activities are ongoing: the upgrade of the Vanad water intake, the upgrade of the Debara water treatment facility, and improving water availability at the Plainview Combined School. The Integrated Water, Land and Ecosystems Management in Caribbean SIDS project has developed a regional action framework for IWRM, which was endorsed by the OECS Council of Ministers on Environmental Sustainability in June 2022 in the region. The recycling plastic waste in the OECS project is in the process of procuring equipment to pilot an OECS model system for plastic waste collection, reuse, and recycling. The project seeks to reduce plastic pollution in the marine, coastal, and terrestrial environment through an integrated approach to waste management and a circular economy in at least 2 OECS member states. With financing provided by the governments of New Zealand and the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, or CRIF, the Eastern Caribbean Community Resilience Enhancement Program, or ECRAP, has accomplished the following: community shelter rehabilitation, fuel pump installation for fishermen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, rehabilitation of an emergency shelter in Grenada, riverbank stabilization emergency shelter rehabilitation, mangrove restoration and construction of a river wall in St. Lucia, and development of a disaster risk policy. 2 new projects are on stream, namely the Geothermal Energy Capacity Building for Utilization, Investment and Local Development, or GeoBuild, and Unleashing the Blue Economy of the Caribbean, UBEC. Focused on achieving its mission, the OECS Human and Social Division has focused on delivering key interventions that seek to ensure that no one is left behind. Over the last year, the Health Unit distributed diagnostic equipment to 9 member states and launched centers of specialization. A pilot with the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA, on an oncology model was launched, and an MOU was signed to strengthen procedures that ensure the safety, quality, and efficacy of medicines in the region. In April 2022, a Human Data for Development conference focused on advancement and addressing challenges faced in data to develop, monitor, and evaluate human development programs, legislation, and policies was held. The Juvenile Justice Reform Project, JJRP, successfully closed, having diverted and rehabilitated 570 children in conflict with the law and training over 1,400 service providers in rehabilitation. With the goal of ensuring that every learner succeeds, the Education Development Management Unit held the 7th meeting of the OECS Council of Ministers. The OECS Declaration on Education was endorsed. Timely discussion for action amongst educational leaders to examine key challenges confronting the development of higher education was facilitated at a special ministerial retreat on higher education. A strategy focused on access expansion for higher education in the region was drafted. The Program for Educational Advancement and Relevant Learning, OECS PEARL, launched the Graduate Certificate Program in Curriculum and Assessment to build capacity in curriculum development. 75 educators are enrolled. The COVID Response and Recovery Project was implemented, benefiting 40,000 students and 1,619 teachers. The Digital Education Capacity Strengthening Initiative, DESI, was launched to produce 1,500 culturally relevant courses that can be accessed for free. Onward with integration for human and social development. The Director General Division remains focused on strengthening the standing of the organization on the international stage through the enhancement of existing diplomatic ties and partnerships and the development of new relationships. The division also continues to lead in the establishment and effective functioning of mechanisms to facilitate the coordination of foreign policy between the OECS and other countries. The International Relations Unit has led the accreditation of the ambassadors and representatives in the past year from our allies, including the Kingdom of Norway, the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Cuba, with all expressing their commitment to working with the OECS to achieve mutually beneficial goals. The new ambassador of the European Union also presented her credentials, reaffirming the importance of relations between the two organizations. The 6th sitting of the OECS Assembly was a huge success, with the discussions focusing on environmental sustainability and climate change under the theme, The Shift, Embracing New Platforms and Innovative Models for Leadership in Sustainability. The continued integration of French member states Martinique and Guadeloupe remained high on the agenda, evidenced by increased participation and engagement of these member states across all areas. Through the Eastern Caribbean Liaison Service, the Commission continues to facilitate opportunities for OECS citizens in Canada with the inclusion of a cohort of women as part of the Season Agricultural Program, one of the highlights of the past year. Under the leadership of Director General Dr. Didacus Jules, the division continues to engage stakeholders and partners across all sectors to advance the objectives of the OECS. The OECS Commission remains steadfast in its commitment to working in the best interest of all member states to benefit every citizen of our region. As always, we look forward to your support. We are one community growing together.
Items, we still always leave the best for last. Before I ask our Premier to take the podium, we wanted to recognize Your Excellency, Mrs. Sarah Tucker. She has been so supportive and helpful of this meeting, and the Deputy Governor as well, offering staff. Is co-hosting a reception for our delegates, and we truly are appreciative of the support of the Governor's Office and the Office of the Deputy Governor. I also wanted to acknowledge our stage manager. This morning, I was so nervous. The conference manager, Miss Adina Johnson, she organized the papers. The PS, she reorganized the papers. The stage manager, she came, she fixed the papers, but when I got here, they were all over the place. I don't know how I ended up like this. So I really want to thank the stage manager for keeping me comfortable and staying with me on this side. People who know me know that I'm a better writer than speaker. Hence the reason why I wanted to do a very flowery, extravagant speech for Premier. Because I wanted to make our neighbor, the Honorable Gaston Brown, jealous. But Premier said, stand down. Let's give him a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now read the bio for our Premier, the Honorable Joseph E. Farrell. The Honorable Joseph E. Farrell was appointed Premier of Montserrat on 19th November 2019. He is a member of the Montserrat Legislative Assembly for approximately 15 years, having served as legislator from 2006 to 2009. Minister of Agriculture, Land, Housing, and the Environment from 2009 to 2014, and leader of the opposition from 2014 to 2019. Prior to holding political office, Premier Farrell worked hard for many years as an ardent civil servant for the benefit of the agriculture sector and the welfare of Montserratians. Honorable Farrell is also a lay preacher in the Methodist Church and is well known for the adoption of the JC's Creed, which states, "We believe that faith in God gives meaning and a purpose to human life, that the brotherhood of man transcends
for the benefit
sovereignty
of the agriculture
nations,
sector and the welfare
that
of
economic
Montserratans.
justice can best be won by free men through free enterprise, that government should be of laws rather than of men, that Earth's great treasure lies in human personality, and that service to humanity is the best work of life." His present portfolio as Premier, he is also Minister of Finance and Economic Management with responsibility for local government, immigration, information, communication, external affairs, culture, tourism, and trade. As leader of government of a British overseas territory devastated by volcanic eruptions in the late 1990s, Premier Farrell continues to strive towards a fuller measure of economic recovery and self-government for the people of Montserrat. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your Premier, the Honorable Joseph E. Farrell.
Thank you very much. I want to first of all recognize the students from our primary schools and secondary school and the Montserrat Community College. I am determined that whenever we're having occasions like these, that those students or young people should be present. Thank you very much for coming. Her Excellency the Governor, Mrs. Tucker, and Mr. Tucker, Honorable Prime Ministers, Premiers, other heads of delegation and delegates to the OECS 72nd Authority meeting, His Excellency Dr. Didicus Julius, Director General of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the Montserrat Legislative Assembly, Her Ladyship, Dame Janice Pereira, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, members of the Montserrat Youth Parliament, staff of the OECS, senior managers of the Montserrat Public Service, special invited guests, ministers of religion, members of the media, listening audience at home and abroad. It is in a spirit of overwhelming joy that I welcome you to the opening ceremony of this 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority. Colleagues, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to the Emerald Isle. Please enjoy the warmth and hospitality, and I hope you have an opportunity to experience what our islands have to offer. I also extend, on behalf of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Authority, deepest appreciation to former Chairman, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, for his steady leadership over the last year. Ladies and gentlemen, the delay in coming together on this occasion of the 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority is reflective of the extraordinary disruption that has engulfed us all over the past few years. However, the fact we are doing so is a tangible evidence of our collective strength and joint resilience that continues to propel us through the increasing inadequacies and exponential crises of today. A strength of the OECS construct is the deep solidarity among heads and the strong sense of common purpose which originates from our shared history. Our interaction is not limited to ceremonious occasions such as these. It is constant, both one-on-one and collectively, to seek advice, to share views, share information, compare policies, and shape consensus as we pursue our regional and, by extension, our global ambitions. In the past 5 years, we have been continually reminded of our vulnerabilities. And since 2020, we have experienced successive waves of catastrophes as a result of climate change, pandemics, and geopolitical events. When we compare the lasting damage effects on our other parts of the world, it is fair to say we have collectively faced them with resolution and weathered them with relative success. But there are lasting effects which continue to challenge us and for which we must find collective solutions. To date, a total of 500,000 persons has been infected in the 11 member states of the OECS. And sadly, deaths total over 3,100, representing 0.16% of mortality rate. The pandemic has caused generational learning crisis through the extended disruption of education across our islands. It is estimated that some 40,000 students are experiencing cognitive, emotional, and learning loss as a result of school closure. The mental and emotional stress our children have endured throughout this crisis will have lasting effects. Therefore, we must, as a region, be proactive and take steps now that will address this critical issue. The picture of the economic front was equally devastating, as estimates indicated that COVID-19 induced economic loss in the OECS led to contraction of GDP to some 15.5% in 2020. The protracted impact on the pandemic shows reversals in all economic indicators: fiscal balances, employment, negative youth employment, negative growth, and undoubtedly increase in poverty. The common adversity experienced by our neighbors should be of no comfort, but it is necessary in drawing context to the potential damage averted through the collective responses of our member states. In the entire world, 1.06% of the persons infected died. In the OECS, that percent is 0.61%. As a grouping of small island developing states, we moved swiftly to confront the crisis and I commend the OECS Commission for the agility and is demonstrated in the face of the threats. Together, we mobilized almost 750,000 vaccines, over 500,000 test kits, hygiene and sanitation supply that included 1.4 million masks, as well as vital equipment such as ventilators. Such is the work of the OECS during the crisis. Instrumental in our response was the robust targeted messaging to our residents. Our partnership with Meta Facebook indicators a total reach of 2.72 million persons in the region. Sad to say, in spite of our efforts, vaccine advocacy has reduced the uptake of vaccines throughout the region, and indeed throughout Montserrat, with the percentage to be 50% inoculation. We must do better if we are to ward off pandemics such as these. Beyond the immediate response to these challenges was the identification of opportunities for doing things differently and being better prepared for the future. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught off guard in the event of another pandemic, another crisis. We must prepare ourselves now. In education, our response to COVID-19 has laid the foundation for transformational of education characterized by a shift to online learning. We are putting in place the infrastructure and skills required for a future in which learning is flexible and which is no longer something that must happen in the confines of the classroom. The reach of 12,300 students under the age of 18 with videos to support learning at home and a communication campaign on health, well-being, and continuity of learning is a success story of the OECS. 700 primary teachers received training and have been certified in effective instructions in distributed teaching and learning. And we intend to extend this to other member states as we go along. We have collaborated for pooled procurement of digital devices and single-set furniture for students, distancing, and to improve school sanitation facilities. On the health side, the more strategic outcome of our effort has seen improvement in health protocols, surveillance and delivery systems, strengthen health communication of the population, and heightened importance of health workers and the importance of health, economic, and social well-being. The question that we all now face is, where do we go from here? The turmoil of the recent global events has changed the global landscape in which we must operate. And we will need to use our united voices and strength in ways which we have never needed before. We must confront acts against humanity with a clear and decisive voice. There must be no condonement for senseless taking of innocent lives. The destruction caused by such willful acts are far-reaching. They place the very stability of the global economy at risk. Special mentions must be made to Honorable Prime Minister Gaston Brown, his strong international advocacy in this regard. As we look around today, we represent some of the most vulnerable nations in the world. It is a hard truth that we are at greatest risk for the loss of infrastructure and human life as a result of human and climate-induced disasters. We therefore need to continue to create the impetus for utilizing our natural assets, the sun, wind, water, even the ocean, and in instances, geothermal resources to support our green agenda. We have been lagging too far behind in accessing renewable energies and finances to establish that resources. We must act with haste to avoid any blackmailing of the people who produce fossil fuel. As the OECS Authority, we must give strong support to the efforts, again, of Honorable Gaston Brown in building consensus on key actions to improve SIDS and SIDS access to development financing. Beyond addressing the external issues affecting our region, we are charged with enabling the growth and viability of businesses within our local economies. Significant financial resources have been expended to buffer the impact of the pandemic on small and medium enterprises. However, we must move beyond remedial responses to inputting resources into innovation and entrepreneurship, and creating economies of scale from the products of our creative sectors to grow our manufacturing prospects. During my tenure as chair of the OECS Authority, I will work with the Director General to empower our women and youth, ensuring that they are equipped with entrepreneurial skills, allowing them to be gainfully employed in every sector of our economies. Anything short of this will see our men, women, and youth and families greatly displaced. One, if not most challenging issues facing the sub-region integration movement is that of connectivity. It is clearly hampering the movement of people and goods, which is one of the pillars of the revised Treaty of St. Kitts of Bastille. We as a region must therefore work together and with other interest groups to find a lasting solution to this vexing issue of reliable transportation. We note Prime Minister Brown's resolve to restore Leah's footprint, and I hope that member states will contribute to a restoration of this interregional travel mechanism. I stand firm in my belief that as a region, we are able to face the challenges that lie ahead. We have displayed the fortitude and resolve to do so under difficult circumstances. Together, we can, and together, we will. Individually, several of us are strategically placed to champion the paradigm shift needed to provide our nations with financial and other resources for our development, and have been carrying the torch steadfastly. It is our responsibility to act jointly, to act purposefully, and to actively support these efforts through our common policies and voices of advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to a year of hard work with the support of my colleagues, with your unusual full participation, resulting in significant impacts on our societies. I thank you.
Excellencies, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our new chairman of the OECS Authority. Now, Premier has a deep sense of humor. And as we would sit with him from time to time to go through the plans for this meeting, he would humor us. But I'm not taking this as a joke, because at the last one, he said, "You see, watch me and see how good a host I'm going to be. But if you deliver here today, I'm going to do something even better for you." So please, when you meet Premier, tell him that we did a great job because we want the gift. Now, this is the last time that I'll stand before you for this morning's proceedings. We have a treat for you, a closing cultural item from Montserrat, after which we will have our OECS anthem, and then we'll have all of our heads take a photo. Now, you don't have to stay for the photo because PS has some goodies outside for you. But, and they don't really want to make a grand exit either. They will take the photo and you will go and have your snacks. So we'll have our next closing cultural item. Please enjoy. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
inspired by a treaty that connects us, and by integration to protect us. Excellence will be our guide. We're pushing mediocrity aside, moving on together, forever and ever. To higher heights we aspire, for a brighter future. One people, one region, committed to success. Rise up, stay up, OECS.
Embracing a Caribbean union, one vision and one common mission, marching on to the same melody,
And preserving peace through prosperity. Moving on together, forever and ever. To higher heights we'll aspire, for a brighter future. One people, one region, committed to success. Rise up, stay up, OECS. The power lies in our people. When we put them first, we'll win any battle. So let us shout it out with acclamation. May God bless our region. Moving on together, forever and ever. To higher heights we'll aspire, for a brighter future. One people, one region, committed to success. Oh yeah. Rise up, stay up, OECS. Coming from a distant drum since 1981.
rise up, stay up, OECS.
The beat of a new persuasion, inspired by integration. Oh yes, oh yes.
Rise up, stay up, OECS.
We building capacities for our communities.
Rise up, stay up, OECS. Togetherness is the key for lasting prosperity. Rise up, stay up, OECS.
Government Information Unit, GIU, is the communications arm of the Government of Montserrat. We serve as the official platform for news and information for and about the government's ministries and departments. We develop information products on government's policies, programs, projects, and activities, which are then channeled through various communication platforms. GIU, your official source for news and information on the Government of Montserrat.